Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Today we're going to be continuing our DLC pay-to-win discussion with Bretonnia. Now I hear you saying, but Bretonnia is not paid DLC, and you're completely right. Bretonnia is a free faction. If you own Game 1, you get access to all the legendary lords and the regiments of renown completely for free, which means that, Bretonnia is the one complete faction that you do get access to with Game 1. So today I'm taking them up against the Greenskins. Got a bit of a throwback build here. King Lewin up in the air, a whole mess of peasants, including a mix of spears and swords. We've got a couple of pox arrows, 2 knights errant, 3 units of Grail Knights, and a damsel Lore of Heavens to give us some nice buffs. And we've also got Windblast as well. As for my opponent, he's got Wurzag on a pig, very nice for fighting Bretonnia. We've got a whole line of Night Goblins here, some Biggins, some Skulkers scattered around with Rusty Arrows. We've also got Broken Tusk Mob, some more Biggins hidden in the woods with some Skulkers. Let's see here, Wolf Riders and Spider Riders, so yeah. So far, just going to be pushing up, and as I do so, we'll kind of talk a little bit more about Bretonnia. So yeah, you get access to Bretonnia completely for free. You get 3 legendary lords, all the regiments of renown. Now, Bretonnia is obviously focused around heavy cavalry, so they do have a pretty specific playstyle, relatively poor infantry, and excellent heavy cavalry with a decent selection of magic. Now, it does make them a little bit predictable. That being said, Bretonnia is an incredibly strong faction in multiplayer, despite what some people would say. They are very micro-dependent, but basically the better skilled you are, the better you can be with Bretonnia, and top-level players are absolutely insane to watch with Bretonnia. They can take them even in matchups which you might think would be considerably unfavorable, like, Lizardmen, for example, is one that you may think on paper would be pretty one-sided, but Bretonnia can actually hang around pretty well with the right build and the right micro. But as this battle commences, we've got some peasant mobs here engaging Night Goblins, starting to bog things down. You can see I've moved up kind of obliquely here, so we're going to be overloading on this side. Lewin is currently taking some damage, and that's fine by me. I'm actually doing something that's a little bit risky. I'm trying to get Lewin below half HP so that he can regenerate back that HP, and then also proc that Beloved Son of Bretonnia, which, like the High King buff we saw yesterday, has been changed so that it's no longer leadership conditional. It only relies on Lewin's HP. But the Knights Errant going to charge in the front line here, get a beautiful charge into some Night Goblins, absolutely wallop these light troops here, and they are going to pretty much instantly pay for themselves. Meanwhile, Lewin and the Grail Knights are going to be getting an engagement over on the side here. We do catch the Spider Riders. We're going to get into some Goblins as well. Lewin comes in here, drops the Sword of Corone. The Grail Knights get a good charge on those Skulkers. The Broken Tusk Mob also going to follow up while being popped now, so a huge escalation in terms of both of us throwing in resources over here. Knights Errant had collapsed those Night Goblins, and they're going to go ahead and pull back. A little bit sloppy, though. One of them is going to get routed off, but the Peasant Arrows focus firing on the Mangy Marauders, going to be very cost-effective there. Fortunately, my Grail Knights did get torn up a little bit by those juiced-up Biggins. The Skulkers are going to get terrified away here, but the Broken Tusk Mob are also able to come in and do some good damage. Granted, they did take some good damage, but both of us dropping buffs, Fists of Gore, Harmonic Convergence, Curse the Midnight Wind, and so on. Got some decent Wind Blasts as well. 44 kills on the Damsel so far from Wind Blasts. So yeah, the reserve unit of Grail Knights is pushing up and around this flank to start to clean up some of these tattered routing units over on this side. See if we can't also get a good rear charge. At this point, I'm perfectly happy to let my opponent throw his infantry here. I've got plenty of peasants to bog down his infantry, and the pox arrows are going to make this just an absolute tar pit situation for these Biggins to get into. I mean, make no mistake, they'll cut these peasants to shreds, but it will take them some time. Meanwhile, over on the far side, you can see these noble peasants here absolutely fighting to the end. You can see them pursuing some of the Broken Tusk Mob and more there. The Grail Knights cleaning up some of the tattered units in the back line. Like I said, we did get some Knights Errant coming back from route, so they're going to try and rally here. Got these ones coming up and around the side as well to join up with the mobile units. But yeah, here come the relatively healthy Grail Knights. They're going to get a really nice charge on the Rusty Arrows here. The Wolf Riders are going to countercharge, then followed up by the Boar Biggins, and a beautiful Foot of Gore going to be dropped by Wurzag here, just crushing those Grail Knights. That's going to do a ton of damage and just drop multiple unit models. You can see those Grail Knights just got absolutely crushed in terms of their HP. Granted, I mean, they are still Grail Knights, so they are still going to, you know, hang around and try and fight until the late game, but we do still have a couple of units of Grail Knights here. They're making their way up and around, going to be able to crush the Rusty Heirs who are, you know, exposed since all the supporting units over on this side. That's the good thing about just having overwhelming numbers of mobility. You know, this many Grail Knights, despite all the damage we've taken, still going to be a potent force to deal with. We're going to get a good countercharge here on the Broken Tusk mob, and I believe, yep, Harmonic Convergence going to be dropped on them. Looks like FG to get has been dropped on Lewin, but make note that for most of this time, Beloved Son of Bretonnia has been active because Lewin's been so low on HP. And now, granted, it is pretty risky, again, to do that intentionally, but it is a pretty significant buff. I mean, that Beloved Son of Bretonnia, giving immune to psychology, especially to the peasants, is very helpful. Then, obviously, the melee attack and charge bonus is very pertinent to units like Grail Knights, and the weapon damage pretty much helps everyone. So Skulker's trying to come in here for support, but you can see all of a sudden Broken Tusk mob have been routed off. These Skulkers and other goblins are going to get terrified away, and that does leave Wurzag exposed and alone here to get taken down by Lewin. You can see Lewin sort of screaming at his men to get out of the way there. But yeah, once Lewin starts to get a few attacks in, it's going to be bad news for Wurzag. You can see him starting to get chunked there. Lewin's finally getting some attacks in. These Biggins trying to come in for support, finally realizing that the you know, Peasant Tar Pit is not where they need to be. Another wall being popped, and you can see the archers are still just kiting and fighting. The peasants are very tattered, obviously, but as long as we can continue to just let those archers fire and kite and fight, we should be in good shape. Balance power was in my opponent's favor, but we're starting to bring it back now with Wurzag being routed off, and Lewin is going to be able to pursue him and definitely see him away. We still got tons of Grail Knights and a few Knights Errant here, cycle charging these Biggins. And yeah, I mean, the Biggins will obviously do some good damage in return as long as we sit and sustain combat here, but the Grail Knights, obviously very elite units with their physical resistance, will be able to tank some of that damage. Lewin doing his thing as well. Going to be chasing off Wurzag, and at this point we're going to move into a little bit of a cleanup phase. The archers and other units in the back line going to try and clean up these few tattered Night Goblins, and yeah, we're going to chase Wurzag off the field as well. So we're going to fast forward a little bit through this late game and just sort of enjoy the Grail Knights running various units down. You can see the Spider Riders tried to bail out Wurzag there, but Lewin's going to get one more charge in here and probably finish him off. We'll see. It doesn't look like he quite finished him off there. Wurzag getting away with about 200 HP, a little bit less than 200 HP. But yeah, got the Grail Knights moving on. Moving away from these Biggins, trying to get over here and push away some of these Mangy Marauders. You can see those Night Goblins shatter, a lot of the Greenskins units shattering at this point. And pretty unfortunate, not sure what these Skulkers were doing way out on the edge. They must have accidentally chased some peasants off, and, you know, they probably wouldn't have made the difference at the end of the day, but it's hard to say. You know, an extra supporting unit of Skulkers may have been useful. Obviously, the terror from Lewin is a big issue for the Goblins, but yeah, Bretonnia, like I said, in the hands of a good player, they are an incredibly powerful faction. They do have a couple matchups which are really rough, but nonetheless, you can still get by, and especially with, like, Albric's buff, I would want to try like him, maybe on foot or on horseback against the Vampire Coast. See if that area of effect bonus versus large would help you cut through things like Rotting Prometheans. Because that was really, I mean, Bretonnia, if you just mass infantry, believe it or not, you can do okay against the coast. But the big crabs are sometimes a problem. So yeah, I don't know. I'd be curious to try that matchup. But that one, the Skaven, you know, Skaven can kind of go either way. A lot of tournament players actually think that that's pretty in favor of Bretonnia, just because Skaven tends to struggle against elite tier heavy cavalry. I mean, yeah, Bretonnia just generally very good against other top tier factions, and in high level play they tend to do very well. Now, like I said, they are pretty micro dependent, so if you are wanting to take them on as a faction to play, just be prepared that you are going to need to learn Cav Micro #1, obviously. But yeah, you can see it just cleaning up some goblins in the late game there, and that is going to be victory. So, well played to my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that one. A super epic showdown, classic showdown between Bretonnia and the Greenskins, with Bretonnia coming out on top. A nice old school build, not completely old school, but very much old school inspired with the Lore of Heavens and the heavy emphasis on Grail Knights, which definitely paid off. 149, 76, 179 kills. 108 on these Knights Errant, 64 here. Both the Pox arrows managed to get XP chevrons as well, which is just awesome. Lewin, 33, 62 on the Damsel at the end of the day. A couple of wind blasts that I did not catch on camera, but she did a great job. Wurzag, a couple really good effigies and foots from him. Obviously, the Biggins cut up some good numbers, as did the Night Goblins, as you would expect against peasants. But at the same time, getting bogged down in the peasants just meant that, there was a critical point in the battle where the infantry support just wasn't there for Wurzag and these Broken Tusk mob, and they got overwhelmed by Grail Knights, which ended up being the sort of the deciding factor in the battle. But yeah, just sort of as closing thoughts on Bretonnia, a lot of people have been saying in this series that Total War Warhammer is pay to win, and I purposefully haven't really said if the game as a whole is pay to win or not. I've been trying to keep it pretty faction specific, but I mean, Bretonnia in my eyes is the best argument against Total War Warhammer being pay to win. And I know, again, some people will say Bretonnia is underpowered, that they're crap or whatever, but in my view, in my experience, based on the battles I've played and the battles I've watched and the tournaments and everything, Bretonnia is very much micro-intensive, but they are incredibly strong. They are very, very strong against, especially like the Elvish factions, even the Empire. They can give some troubles too. Just in general, they are a very, very strong faction. And they're completely free. You get access to everything. All of these regiments are renowned. All of the units of every kind. Granted, they do have a somewhat limited roster when you do compare them to some other factions, but still, aesthetically, they're an awesome faction. Thematically, they're an awesome faction. They are very good. They're fun in campaign as well. I haven't played around too much on the new update. I haven't played a little bit of an Alberic campaign, but just overall, very fun faction, and I definitely would recommend them as a faction to learn, especially if you're trying to learn how to cav micro. We'll definitely force you into that, but hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.